While reading a book, there are many things that you might associate yourself with. However, there are a few contradictions when it comes to habits. Some habits can be good, and some can be bad. But well, everyone's perception differs. Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. Today, we're going to talk about the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. So without further ado, let's get started. You might often feel like you're coasting through life, but not really progressing toward your goals. At that point, you start fantasizing about all the terrible habits you're going to break and all the positive ones you're going to start around the new year. You tell yourself, this time it will be different. This time I will actually follow through on my commitments. However, shortly afterward, you find yourself right back where you started, having accomplished nothing toward your original goal. The question then becomes, how do you actually go about becoming that person? How can one eliminate undesirable practices while also facilitating the development of desirable routines? Well, all of these concerns are addressed in James Clear's book Atomic Habits, as it teaches the reader a few lessons. Number 1. Atomic Habit. So first, let's look into what is meant by atomic habits. Well, simply altering one or two things about your routine can have a profound effect on where your life ultimately goes. However, all too often, we trick ourselves into thinking that the only way to achieve considerable progress toward any goal is to make significant efforts toward that goal. We anticipate achieving some kind of breakthrough or major advancement that will garner widespread notice. But it's the barely perceptible tweaks that lead to massive shifts in the long run. Let's delve even further into the numeric details. If you improve by 1% every day for a year, that's almost a 38-fold increase. If you decline by 1% per day for more than a year, you'll soon be in negative territory. Things like stress and negative self-talk are just two examples of how your habits can add up to make life harder. Knowledge, productivity, abilities, and connections are all factors that can add up for you over time. Success is the result of consistent effort over time, not a lightning bolt epiphany. Lesson 1. Trigger, craving, response, and reward. First, keep in mind that every habit follows the same basic 4-step structure: trigger, craving, response, and reward. Adam Smith's greatest opus, The Wealth of Nations, published in 1776, is widely regarded as the starting point for contemporary economics. In a free market economy, all workers will automatically maximize their own society's welfare, even if they are only looking out for themselves, which is one of his most famous discoveries. To forward a goal that was not in any way his own aim, he is, in this as in many other cases, led by an invisible hand. James argues that one's environment acts as an invisible hand when it comes to forming habits. That's why it takes a trigger to start any routine. It's not necessarily something outside of yourself, but it usually is. After the trigger comes the cue, which is information that leads one to believe that there is something desirable to be found, such as the aroma of baking cookies or the presence of an unlit room. Then comes the craving. Well, craving can be defined as the impetus to make a modification so that one can enjoy the prize, such as eating a tasty cookie or gaining the ability to see. Then your response will be whatever it is that you have to do or think in order to reach your goal. Last is the step of reward, which is the learning experience and the decision on whether or not to repeat the change. Several well-known approaches, such as Charles Duhigg's Habit Loop, Gretchen Rubin's 4 Inclinations, and B.J. Fogg's Tiny Habits Behavior Model, attempt to foretell our actions and the motivations behind them. The methods mentioned by James are distinct from one another, but complementary to those described by Duhigg in The Power of Habit. Lesson 2. Forget about setting goals, focus on your system instead. Your desired outcomes are what your goals are focused on. Systems theory focuses on the steps taken to achieve the desired outcomes. The issue isn't with you if you're having problems altering your routine. Your setup is flawed. It's not that you don't want to break bad behaviors, but rather that your strategy for doing so is flawed. You never seem to reach the heights of your ambitions. Your system determines how low you go. So, the method outlined in Atomic Habits has been shown to be effective in both forming and breaking habits. Remember, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Lesson 3. A habit tracker is a fun and straightforward way to ensure you stick to your new behaviors. You'll want to get started on several things at once since you want to get them out of the way as quickly as possible. Using a habit tracker is a straightforward approach to self-accountability that prevents you from feeling overwhelmed. The basic premise is that you write down all the habits you wish to form or break and then check off which ones you accomplished that day. A single sheet of paper, a notebook, a calendar, or a digital tool like an app are all acceptable formats for this record. The so-called Seinfeld productivity hack is the inspiration for this method. Comedian Jerry Seinfeld reportedly crossed off an X on his calendar every time he wrote a joke. Soon, he had to concentrate on keeping the chain intact. It's a straightforward method for establishing positive routines in your life. And since habits are the piggy bank of personal development, it's something we should all get started on right now. We must each determine our own unique path to behavior modification. Hence, Atomic Habits is a comprehensive, entertaining, and easy-to-understand collection of such techniques. Lesson 4. Build identity-based habits. Do you find it difficult to develop permanent routines and make positive lifestyle changes? If that's the case, you might want to examine your sense of identity. The way you act now is a perfect mirror for whom you think you are, whether consciously or not. Consequently, if you want to alter your behavior permanently, you should alter how you view yourself first. However, you shouldn't panic. Adjusting your worldview doesn't have to be difficult. Just take stock of who you want to be and prove to yourself that you can do it on a small scale. Doing so can help you shape lasting habits that are more in line with the person you aspire to be. Using dopamine as a motivator is one approach to increasing participation in healthful behaviors. We are more likely to keep doing something that provides us joy or success because of the effect of this hormone and neurotransmitter. So, to make the new behavior more enticing, it's best to combine it with something the individual already enjoys doing. Using Premack's principle from psychology, which reinforces fewer probable behaviors with more probable ones, a strategy called temptation bundling can do this. However, it takes more than just one's own effort to establish a new routine. Habits and behaviors are heavily influenced by our family and communities. The process of habit formation can be sped up by immersing oneself in a culture where the desired behavior is typical. One way to accomplish this is to sign up for a fitness or reading group. Understanding the underlying motivations for our actions is equally crucial. Our desires are a window into our hearts and minds. They can be driven by anything from the need to conserve energy and foster personal connections to the pursuit of esteem and recognition. If we can find the underlying cause of these fundamental motivations, we can start making beneficial changes to our daily routines. It's important to remember, though, that the advent of new temptations and distractions in today's environment has made it more challenging than ever to establish and maintain healthy routines. Many websites and businesses nowadays attempt to capture our interest by appealing to our baser impulses. To get past these obstacles, we need to rewire our brains to like challenging work and to link unpleasant processes with positive associations. We may easily change our ideas and adopt new habits if we focus on the positive outcomes that result from engaging in them. Changing our perspective from perceiving exercise as a chore to doing it as a means to better health, for instance, can increase motivation. Similarly, if we view housework as a form of relaxation, we may be more motivated to do it. Atomic Habits is an effective manual for making significant, long-lasting changes through the adoption of simple routines. Using the book's step-by-step structure, we can tailor our surroundings, our routines, and our incentives to make habit formation less of a chore and more of a pleasure. So that's a wrap on the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.